I'm Steve Forbes, and you're watching Traders Nation.
Welcome back. You are tuned in to Traders Nation. My pleasure to have with us Bob Burg, co-author of The GoGiver Influencer, best-selling author. Bob, welcome to Traders Nation today. How are you?
I'm great, Kurt. How about you?
Doing fantastic. Thanks for being with us here today. So what brought you to write The GoGiver Influencer?
Well, we sort of thought the timing was good for this. It's the fourth book in the GoGiver series, which is really about, in a nutshell, shifting your focus from getting to giving, meaning constantly and consistently providing value to others,
Sure.
Mainly, in the business sense.
Yeah.
But we felt that communication now has gotten so bad, especially in the political environment, that we see people yelling at each other, accusing each other. If you're not on my side, if you don't agree with me, not only are you wrong, but you are evil. And we just see people doing this, but not really persuading, just letting off steam, and we kind of wanted to do something to change that.
So, it's a great point. You're absolutely right. I think social media at this point is such a devil. I don't know. People have lost their civility. And it makes me wonder, are we ever going to be able to regain that back? Because in order to really achieve the goals that we want to get to, there is a path to that, but communication certainly is a part of the tools to get there along that path. Are we going to be able to recover from the social media nonsense that we're seeing?
Well, I don't know, but as you said, there is a path, and I think what we need to do is place value on doing things the right way, and we don't have to depend on the other side, so to speak.
Sure.
For example, I am very much, I consider myself an ambassador of free markets, free market capitalism, not cronyism, free market capitalism. And we know that more and more people seem to identify now with socialism, which we know is force, we know it's evil, we know it's horrible.
Right.
But when you're communicating with someone who believes in socialism, and it's not that they believe in socialism, they believe in what they think socialism is.
Right.
Okay? We can't just accuse them of being some idiotic, non-thinking, whatever, and expect that they are going to, in any way, open themselves up to our ideas.
Right. So it almost sounds like we really have to put ourselves together in a way of communication to folks that don't know better, to try to convey a message to them that socialism, for instance, in your example, is not necessarily the way. And if you think that you're going to create some type of new socialism that's going to be better than anything that's failed in the last 100 years, you've got to really put your thoughts together. That's a lot of work, isn't it, Bob?
It is, and that's why we need to do it, and that's why we have five laws basically on how to do it.
Yeah.
But the first one's controlling ourselves, mastering our own emotions, because let's face it, when we hear some 22-year-old who's never been out in the real world who thinks socialism is about sharing and generosity, right? And they don't realize it's force, it's control, it's what have you.
Right.
It's difficult to not want to just jump right down there. So what we need to instead is we need to control our own emotions first.
I see.
Then we need to step into their shoes. Now, it's hard to step into someone's shoes when we have different size feet.
Yeah.
But what that means is we need to be the one to make the effort and try to understand at least where they're coming from. So, for example, saying to someone, I appreciate your passion for your idea. Like you, I want to live in a country where people are able to be prosperous, where they're able to blah, 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 the whole thing, that we want the same thing.
Yeah.
What I think we're looking at, though, is simply, I think our disagreement is simply how we would best get there.
Right.
And so now you're taking it from two enemies who have totally different goals to two maybe allies who have the same goal but different ways. But here's the thing. Someone might say, okay, but that person, what if they're so far gone? They're so far to the left, let's say, that, their mind is made up. Don't confuse them with the facts because it's not going to matter.
Right.
Okay. I agree. But remember, for every one of these conversations, whether it's online or at a family get-together or a social occasion, there are 10 times the amount of people who are listening without saying anything. Who can be persuaded, because most people are not so far to the left or so far to the right that they're just most people are either somewhere in the middle or a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right, and here's what they're looking for. They're looking first for the best logic logical argument. That's actually secondary, but that's important. You've got to know what you're talking about. You've got to know why free market capitalism is a blessing as opposed to socialism, which is a curse. But you've also got to be, they're also looking to see who's the person who is kindest and nicest and tactful and who I could approach with a question without getting my head bitten off.
That's a winner right there. Because in today's society, it certainly is. I like the point. So if you can't get through to one, because you're not going to get through to everybody.
No,
you've got 10. You got 10 times more people that you actually may be able to reach. Right. I'm liking it.
Yeah, Curtin, and you just said, I mean, that's perfect, because they're the ones that can be influenced and can be persuaded. And what we've got to understand is that, I think some people think that if you speak to people with tact and kindness, you're somehow compromising your values. No. Tact should never be confused with compromise.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I absolutely agree with that. And let's face it also, too, I mean, sanity, it's like you said, it may be a little to the left and a little bit to the right, but sanity is right up the middle, right? As long as your message is right up the middle, I think you're going to be able to reach more people in today's society and communication venues, right?
Yeah, and so when we keep that in mind, now again, it doesn't mean it's easy to do, and it's not natural, especially right now because we seem to be split up into two teams, if you will.
Sure.
But it's that person who will make that effort, who will look to master that. You can do it. I mean, I've taught tons of people how to do it, and I've done it myself. And I'm not bragging. I'm just saying these are very basic principles. We just put it in a story form in a business context in order to bring that out. But I'm very concerned about our country, and I'm very concerned that we're not heading in a direction where, where free markets and free minds are the highest value. And we need to get it back to that, because it's only in that kind of environment where we can thrive, both individually and as a nation.
I totally agree, and I think there's a lot of shoutdowns, okay? Shout communications that's going on here today. And nobody's communicating in a civil way.
Right.
It seems like it's shouticating. Okay,
yeah, I love that. Yeah,
shouticating is what's going on there. Use that in the next GoGiver. Hey,
that's what I'm thinking. Yeah,
yeah, totally use it. In influencer, okay, the coach says, listen to the back of your neck. What exactly does that mean?
Well, that most people, and this is because both the protagonists, because there's two proteges and two mentors, and neither of the protagonists are listening to the other person. They can't decide why this other person just seems to have no idea what they're talking about, and why each conversation puts them further apart. What he's saying is listen, but not just with your ears. That's surface listening.
Right.
That's the kind of listening most of us do in order to wait till they're finished so we can make our point. Okay? Right. What he's saying is listen with your eyes, listen with your posture, listen with the back of your neck. In other words, put your entire being into listening to this person. Sure. What this does is two things. First, it allows us to learn more about how and why that person's thinking what they are thinking, okay? Sure. Secondly, when we do this, Kurt, the other person feels listened to. And this is very important. My mantra is that all things being equal, people will do business with, refer business to, and allow themselves to be led or influenced by those people they know, like, and trust. And there's no faster, more effective way to do this than by truly listening to that person.
Be sincere, right? Because you're right.
Exactly.
That other person that's communicating to you, they're reading your body language, and they're instantly knowing if you're respecting their message or not. We're out of time here today. Hey, Bob, where can we get a copy of the GoGiver Influencer today?
TheGoGiver.com, and they can click on the graphic of the book and get 2 free chapters to see if they like it.
Oh, sweet. That's nice, Bob. Bob Burg's with us today, co-author, The GoGiver Influencer. Get a copy today at TheGoGiver.com, GoGiver.com. Bob, thanks for being with us. Stay tuned.
Thanks, Kurt.
You bet.